Good time zone, everyone, and welcome to the Fallout TV series on Amazon Prime, Episode 3, The Head Podcast Aftertalk. I am your host, Indiana_Minotaur, an autistic retro and RPG content creator on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. On the previous episode, our unlikely trio came together for the first time on screen to fight over an enclave deserter who has something very vital to him. It's whatever's going thing in his neck. If you remember at the beginning of episode 2, he ejected himself with something very shiny. Lucy fails his speech check, and the ghoul and Maximus dished it out. The ghoul wins, and now we are here in episode 3, The Head. Now, before I continue with the episode 3 breakdown, I want to let everybody know that after episode 4, I will do a sort of halfway through the season review on my thoughts on every episode from episode 1 through 4. I will go back and go through and binge watch all the episodes from episode 1 through 4, and then come together for a thoughts on, like, hey, here's what my thoughts are. And that's going to be a bonus video. It's not going to be on the schedule. It's going to be a bonus video. And of course, I'll give you my rating on how I feel about the season so far. The episode opens up with a Cooper Howard flashback. Before he became a ghoul, not only was he a war veteran, but he was a Hollywood actor for old westerns, who also has like this neutral karma about him, where he wants to do good, or he feels like, oh, this is like the right thing, and even his director like kind of gives him this Joker, Batman, Dark Knight discussion on morality, which is funny because the Dark Knight movie was directed by Jonathan Nolan's brother, Sir Christopher Nolan. We meet his wife for the first time, who we later find out something very important about her, as well as his daughter from the pilot episode. We then come back to the ending moments of the second episode. Lucy's well gone, further on her quest to deliver the head to Moldaver. And Cooper is on her trail, but not before taking a drug before walking off into the city. This drug is going to be a centerpiece for the character, because he also kind of like gets a little upset later on in the episode, and we once again get gorgeous visual shots, Fallout radio music playing in the background, and nothing really much happening. Lucy tries to figure out why is this scientist so important? She still doesn't know what's so vital to him, what's vital about him. She puts a tracker up through his nostril, which is actually kind of funny that they introduce like a tracker thing, and it kind of makes me wonder if Fallout 5 is going to have like a tracker thing that you can put in, like, oh yeah, if you ever need to know like why is this area important, like put a tracker down here, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a resource area or something such. She eats devil eggs and ponders about Maximus and who the knight who distracted the ghoul. We cut to Maximus. Speaking of, the Brotherhood of Steel begins to wonder what happened to dear old Knight Titus, and of course, in a rookie move, like rookie is just plaster over Maximus's forehead. Maximus lies to his chain of command and the transpire the events, saying that my squire was cut down, and right before he cuts his radio, the Brotherhood of Steel is going to send in another squire. And for those who kind of forgotten about episode 2, Titus, the real one, portrayed by Michael Rappaport, was a complete dick to Maximus. So in the Assyrian attack by the mutated bear, the Yalgawai, Maximus lets Titus die of his old wounds, and Maximus dons the armor. Maximus returns back to the town of Philly to get a piece of the power armor repaired. Maximus, in a Fallout tradition, does a barter speech check, and like Lucy, fails at first, but not before, in another Fallout tradition, finds another way and has one of his teeth pulled to get that extra bottle cap because the repair vendor was asking for 5 bottle caps and he only had 4. So by getting a teeth pulled, he was able to procure the 5. So a bit of a sidetrack here, and we're gonna be doing this a lot throughout the 8 episodes here. We're gonna be talking about the world of Fallout a bit to the people who don't know what the world of Fallout like is in depth. So bottle caps in the world of Fallout is the economy. So if a gun or a piece of armor costs 100 bottle caps, then you would procure 100 bottle caps. Dollars are useless. The dollar bills and the nickels, dimes, quarters, pennies, that is totally useless. They are all used for building material, crafting material, and for campfires for your camps at night. He passes the barter check, but fails the intimidation check when a bunch of hooligans want to take his power armor. He gets his butt whooped at first, but not before he gets up, beats the shit out of them, and delivering one of the more gory kills in the show so far by crushing a dude's head. His celebration ends prematurely when his new squire arrives, because as you recall, the Brotherhood of Steel radio team tells Maximus that every knight needs a squire. Funny enough, this squire that comes to aid Maximus is actually the same squire that bullied him in the pilot episode. So it's actually his time to be a dick towards Thaddeus. However, though, he has second thoughts on it, and instead of just outright killing him, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna bully him. I'm gonna bully him for how he bullies me. And actually, there's a bit of a thing later on that kind of reveals, like, hey, this is not what it seems. We get more about the intended target. We get more information about the intended target because apparently the target, the Enclave scientist who's now dead, whose head is now in the hands of Lucy, is apparently vital to the security of the wasteland. So whoever controls this head, whatever this dude has, controls the wasteland. Which is actually kind of funny, kind of hilarious when you think about it. Can you imagine just deliveries like, I present you this head. This head will control the wasteland and feed families. Oh, Jesus. Lucy arrives at a large lake, or I guess what's left of Hollywood Boulevard. She relaxes for a split second, but not before a gulper shows up to disturb the peace. So a gulper in video game, in the video game world of Fallout, is a mutated salamander. However, this salamander is different because apparently it's way beyond mutated. It has human finger appendages in its mouth, kind of has like a human skeletal body and human hands apparently. It was really like, oh my god, this is freaking crazy. A crazy ass monster, right? So if you play the games, you're wondering why is that salamander look different? Why is that gulper look different from the one in the show? Is because I guess they made this specific gulper for the show, and the other gulpers, they're from the games and stuff, so they're not gonna look any different from the show, show's counterpart. So to clarify again, the gulper in this show is its own standalone gulper versus the ones shown in the video games, or at least in Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, because this is where they're more prominent in, especially Fallout 4's Far Harbor DLC. Going back to the show, Lucy tries to fight it off, but not before the gulper takes the head, and now she has to find some way to retrieving it, but not before the ghoul shows up to demand where the head is. Lucy sort of passes the lie speech check, but not before the ghoul kind of investigates further and is like, no, you're straight up lying to me. A gulper has it. Get the fuck out of my face. Knocks her out. And we cut back to Vault 33. The Vault is looking less homey and more of a fractured society. Norm, Lucy's brother, gets his tribunal trial by the Vault Council, who basically demotes him to sort of a guy to deliver the food to the raiders. We also get introduced to this new system of vaults, a interconnected vault system. Vault 33, as it turns out, is connected to Vault 32 and also Vault 31. We also know apparently Vault 31 wasn't affected by the Raider attack, so apparently they just came through Vault 32 and Vault 32 alone. Norm gets punished to be on food duty, obviously, as I mentioned before, for the Raider captors who survived the attack in the pilot episode. We then come back to comedy time between Maximus and Thaddeus, which is honestly a throwaway scene. I mean, it's great to see humor and character development, but this was kind of like okay, yeah, I get what they're trying to do, but can we just keep moving here? They are much like the ghoul on the trail of the target of the Enclave deserter. Meanwhile, during all this, Lucy tries every speech check in the book to convince the ghoul to let her go, but obviously if it wasn't clear enough, the ghoul was using her as bait to get the Gulper to come out of hiding. The Gulper and Lucy and the ghoul, Cooper, try and fight one another, left, right, front, and center. Dogmeat intervenes, bites the hand of the Gulper, but not before the Gulper smashes and destroys the ghoul's drug pack, which is apparently very vital to him. We don't know what this is. He takes it at the beginning of the episode, and I suspect we're going to learn as we go along in the season. The ghoul wants to shoot Lucy, but of course, the ghoul's like, you know what? You're not my problem anymore. I'm just going to drop you off because I'm going to just handle this shit myself. And through this whole conversation of trying to get the Gulper to come out of hiding to post-Gulper coming out of hiding, you have this like morality talk of the golden rule. And the ghoul delivers probably one of the most iconic lines in the entire show. For me, I was able to understand this line. I was like, yo, that is fucking hilarious. But to every Fallout, to every person who has played the Fallout video games. But the ghoul says, and I quote, "Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time," meaning we're going on a side quest in the next episode. Because obviously we're kind of like halfway through the episode already, so we're probably going to get the side quest in the following episode. We cut back to Maximus and Squire Thaddeus doing general maintenance, and as they chat, Maximus asks Thaddeus about himself. He's like, "Hey, tell me more about Maximus and what he's like," and Thaddeus was honestly honest about it. And like no sus lie meter detected. He basically tells them that they have like this hazing ritual of beating up the recruits and whatnot, but they also kind of feel sorry that they have to do it. It's just part of the ritual of joining the Brotherhood to make them, I guess, strong or to know their place or whatever. And he told Maximus, like, I wish Maximus was alive to have his turn at being the dick in the camp, right? Maximus was like, "Oh, okay, I can kind of understand that now." And for the record, hazing is completely and utterly wrong, but you have these, the college groups, and I can guarantee this probably happens in our own military. So we cut back to Vault 33 and what's been going on. And apparently, we have a Game of Thrones reference. Yeah, the first Game of Thrones reference. We have a the Dothraki were just there in the moment kind of scene. If you know the scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But apparently, Vault 33's population count is still very high for some odd reason. And they have this council meeting on the discussion of what to do with the remaining raiders. Obviously, that goes as well as believing in Norm trying to do the right thing and all that, because the council idiotically presents the idea of having the raiders being re-educated to become vault dwellers, become part of society once again. And if y'all know anything about post-apocalyptic societies, then you know this is impossible. I don't know how many times I have to swear in this episode, but there was a lot of like interesting moments in this episode that made you go, "Man, you stupid mother." slap that person across the face for doing something so stupid. But you can obviously tell that the vault has a moral high ground. And for the record, a lot of these vaults are not like this vault. Some vaults do have a moral high ground, while other vaults are just not it. And I'm gonna talk about the vaults in a later episode. In later episodes, because obviously if you've seen the trailer, then you know we're gonna go see a lot of vaults in this episode, or at least some of the key vaults that pertain to the story anyway. So when we get to a certain episode, I'll begin to talk more about the vaults and the purpose of these vaults and whatnot. His voice gets drowned up, but not before the technician comes out and says, yeah, our water chip is broken and now we're totally screwed. So this is a callback to the Fallout 1's first the first half of Fallout 1 story plot. That game was made by Interplay, and in that story's first half, you are tasked to find a water chip for your vault before a certain amount of days. If you don't get the vault, the water chip back to the vault within a certain amount of days, it's game over. Do I recommend Fallout 1 and 2? Well, that might be a bonus episode one day. Probably. I don't know. Those are very two outdated games. In terms of gameplay and patience and whatnot. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. And like any fractured society, there is a power vacuum, because without the overseer leading the vault, the council is in charge. The council is not granting anybody the rank of master. They are deciding how to run the vault. And you can clearly tell there's a power vacuum and power schism that I cannot wait to see this blow over, because you have some of the most fragile egos running this vault. Like, holy crap. It's so goddamn hilarious. And right before that part of the before the end of all that discussion and whatnot, we get a little conversation between Norm and the woman that has the that that had the fork in her eye at the beginning of the pilot episode, and talks to Norm about your father would do the right thing, and it comes back to this whole discussion of morality and what's right, what's wrong in the wasteland versus in the vaults, and how far people would go just to get something done. Like, for example, we have Maximus, who only had 4 caps. I guarantee he didn't want to get his teeth pulled, but he's like, you know what? I need this thing repaired for my power armor. So he takes his tooth out just to get that one bottle cap. And so, speaking of Maximus, we jump back to the boys, who arrived at the same exact location as Lucy and the Ghoul was. Lucy and the Ghoul couldn't get the head, but what about these two? Could they do it? Well, Maximus and Thaddeus lures out the Gulper. The Gulper tries to devour Thaddeus, but I guess because it couldn't swallow its food, it choked itself to death, I guess. Because that Gulper did not like the fact that, I guess, the food was too big. I don't know. It was so hilarious seeing that Gulper who's like, yeah, I got this. And then as soon as Maximus showed up and tries to pull out Thaddeus from the Gulper's like, no, I don't got, and just like completely just cavitates itself and just dies instantly, because I guess it couldn't devour the Thaddeus and couldn't devour its food properly. Maximus finds Lucy's shoe, and Dogmeat finds the head, thereby completing the mission for the Brotherhood. However, with the radio out, because Maximus destroyed the radio to prevent the Brotherhood of Steel from calling reinforcements, or at least sending a squire, who will, I guess, at some point the Thaddeus might learn the truth about who Knight Titus really is. Probably, maybe. You know how these things go, right? We then end the episode on the biggest stunning revelation to Fallout and Fallout lore in general. Cooper Howard, portrayed by Walter by Walter Goggins, is actually the poster boy, the icon, the man himself, the Vault Boy, the Fallout Boy for Vault-Tec. You know, the iconic logo of the Vault Dweller, like doing his thumbs up signature stance, yeah, that's Cooper Howard. That is Cooper Howard. Now I know people are gonna look at that and go, "Oh, come on, that's not even close to you." I don't even know why I'm addressing this, but lately we're gonna get to that particular episode. God, I want to binge watch this just so I can talk about that particular episode. But if you've seen the Twitters, if you've seen social media, then you know that a certain game is trending for the wrong reasons. But cartoonists will always take I guess a artist will always take like a outline and be like, okay, this is the outline. How can we do to improve it, to improve upon it? Because uh and what's funny is that they could have just outright ignored this revelation, but actually, to be honest, it was very cool seeing that, yeah. And how this whole thing starts off is at the end of the flashback at the beginning of this episode, Cooper gets told by his wife, who works for Vault-Tec, uh tells him that she tells him that that there's this gig that would fit for Cooper. And of course, we don't see what this package is, but we do know the colors because um Cooper's wife tells him that the colors match to your suit that he's wearing. So obviously, it's a jumpsuit. And I like how Cooper makes a reference of like, can the suit protect itself? Can the suit truly protect the person wearing it against radiation? Which to the Vault-Tec representatives who were there were like, yeah, sure, yeah. I don't think they can do that, but if you grow a third arm, it's not our fault. um and and yeah, and even Cooper was the one to suggest the thumbs up too. So it was just mind-boggling. It was just a mind-blowing revelation at the end of the episode. We I think for the longest time we didn't really know the origin of the Fallout Boy for Vault-Tec, the Mickey Mouse for Vault-Tec. And now we know as of this show. And you have to remember, this show is canon. It takes place many years after the events of all the games, including the particular game that everyone's been like tizzying over for the past couple of days. Don't worry, we'll get to that episode. I want to binge watch all of this all at once just to get to that episode, but I feel like it would do a huge disservice if I didn't if I did it that way. So yeah, it's another great episode. I mean, yeah, the back and forth was kind of really odd in this one because you had short moments and then you had longer moments. And then you have short moments again. And it's like, can you just like, I don't know, it was very weird. The pacing was very weird in this episode. And like, yeah, it gets the job done for the scenes, but it's just like, you could have just stretched this out a little bit longer and moved some scenes around, take out some scenes. Like, for example, there was a scene where Max, I'm just gonna shorthand Maximus from now. I'm gonna call him Max. Max tells Thaddeus to go up a tree to find an apple, which clearly isn't the case because that's not an apple tree. Even Thaddeus points it out, like, no, it's a dead tree. Like, he wants to, like, Max is torturing this guy for bullying him. And of course, this was before the revelation, like, oh yeah, it was a hazing ritual, essentially. So yeah, that is the end of the episode. This episode will go live as of today, which is Tuesday, April 16th. Both on Spotify and on the YouTube channel. And also as a reminder, these episodes are not going to drop every day. These episodes are going to only drop specifically on the days that I do work. Because on the days that I do work, I don't stream or do extensive YouTube content. Everything is scheduled and uploaded. Everything's done, uploaded, scheduled, all that good stuff. So this is a good way to do the podcast episodes rather than just doing out like every single day, because this podcast is new and I'm trying to find new topics to talk about after Fallout. I'll probably start talking about the Godzilla films maybe. But then it's hard trying to find every Godzilla movie to watch out there because, a lot of movies are not watchable. You have to find them through means. But anywho, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you like the podcast, if you want to know more, if you want to listen to more, then follow the podcast on Spotify. As I mentioned, the episodes upload every workday. I can't give you an exact date, but I can tell you that they upload for now every Tuesday and Thursdays, both on the YouTube channel and on Spotify. Spotify, yes. Words are hard. I am your host, Indiana_Minotaur, and I'll see you all on the next episode. Bye bye.